Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the almighty Zentaco. Today we're going to be learning how to do keys and doors for a platform game. I actually think this one is really simple and you guys should probably be able to piece this together yourselves, but this was a request and I am, if anything, a slave to your needs. So that's what's going to happen. Now before we get started, let's have some delicious ASMR for your ears. Here we go. So, that was delicious. That's my tea. Alright, so if any of you are still with me after that ASMR, let's get to it. So, let's run this and take a look. So, what we have here is essentially a really simple platform game. Right now, nothing happens, no collisions other than with the backdrop. Can't pick up the key. But there's a door and a star. We may add some functionality to allow you to grab that star. I don't know. But really, we are concerned with this door, okay? So, this is some pretty good art, if I do say so myself. I made it. So, what are we doing here? Well, if we go in over to our event editor, we will see that I have a basic platformer engine. If you don't know how to make a platformer, go ahead and watch my platformer tutorial series. So, we are gonna need to do some stuff. Let's go ahead and insert a group of events and we will call this keys and doors. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is set up some collisions with the door so we cannot pass it unless we have a key, in which case we will open the door. So to do that, we are going to, since we're using the platform movement object, we are going to go over to the platform movement object. We are going to do a collision testing, test for obstacle overlap. We're going to insert another condition here. We're going to find out if our player is currently overlapping another object. And that object is going to be the door. If that happens, we have hit a object, so we want to collide. So go to collisions under the platform movement object and select object does overlap with an obstacle. Let's test and see if we collide with the door. Boop. Okay, I can no longer pass the door. Now, since the door is irregularly shaped and we are colliding with its sprite, we can get kind of stuck in here. Let's make this a box collision. So to do that, we're gonna actually go over to our door object and we are going to, where's it at? Under use find detection, we're gonna uncheck that. So then it'll just collide with this box here. Okay, much smoother. So now we need to allow this door to open if we have some keys. So let's go ahead and go over to our properties for the application, and we're going to add a global value. Let's call this keys. There, we start with 0. So now we need to get a key whenever we collide with this key. So we'll find out if the player is colliding with another object. We'll just make it overlap another object. And that will be the key. Now, what we're going to do if that happens, so if we collide with this key, then we are going to destroy it and add one to our alterable value keys. So go to the alterable values, or rather the global values. We're going to add one to that. And then we're going to destroy the key. So now we have a key. Now that would be the point in which you would want to add a sound effect, which as a matter of fact, I'm going to do that real quick. Just to make this pretty nice, I want to make this a little polished. We're going to grab this from a file. We're going to use a bite sound effect, kind of like our dude is like eating the key. Okay, let's go ahead and actually insert a counter. We're going to throw a counter object in here, and we're going to use this to show us what exactly how many keys we have. All right, boink. Now, here's something I'd like to show you guys. I haven't shown you before. You can actually change the art on a counter. The default art is kind of the suck, so we're going to fix that. And we're going to do that by importing some art. All right, so we can import this from a sprite. I have all these sprites already set up for a different game. This is actually where I got the art for this tutorial. It's I made all this. I know it's fantastic. Thank you. All right, so we're going to throw in the 0. And then we need to import all of these. So I'm going to speed this along. Now, I don't need to add the other art for things like the plus, maybe the decimal, but I'm not going to use decimals because these are all going to be integers, so that is fine. Keep in mind that 0, the frame 1, is going to actually be 0, the number 0. So it is, 1. It is, for some reason, the frame is, in fact, 1 based. So there we go. Now we're going to take this enormous counter, because those were some very big art objects, and we're going to scale this down. Shwoop. All right, so that is our key counter. Normally I would put a picture of a key here and let it follow along with the frame. So we are going to set up an always event, and we are going to set the counter to the value of keys, which is a global value. So retrieve a global value, keys, and we're good. Boom. So now we should be able to grab this key. We did, we ate it, and we have 1 key now, as you see on the top right. Okay, so now we need to have some way to allow us to get through this door when we have the key, which is really quite simple. We are going to need to insert another active object. This is going to be a object we're going to use to detect collisions with doors. Since the engine is going to prevent us from actually ever overlapping with the door because we have set it as a collidable object within the platform movement engine, we are going to need something that follows along and extends outside of the collision box of our player. So we're just going to make a little box. I'm going to color it red. And we are going to shrink it down. And I am going to name it Door Detector. Now the door detector needs to be invisible at start. We don't want to see it. But while we're testing it, we're going to leave it visible just so we can see that it is in fact doing what we want. Now, one thing we need to do first is we need to set up some directions. So back here in the basic platformer engine, when we press right and left, that's when we're going to change the direction of our player object. So go to the player object and select a direction. Right for when we hold right, drag it down here, edit it, and set it to be left for when we do left. Make sure you don't have more than one direction selected. That can cause a problem. So now we have directions set. We need to have our detector follow at a different position based on the direction. So find the direction of the player object. So go to direction, compare the direction. So we're going to want to compare for right. We're going to copy this and paste and edit it because we also want to compare for left. When we do that, all we have to do is set the position of our detector object. So select position relative to player. Now, when we're going to the right, we want it to be offset to the right side here. I think we can do that about, it depends on the size of your object. 32 looks about perfect. So we're going to have that be positive 32 pixels on the x-axis. And for this one here, we're just going to drag this down and edit it because that's more simple than having to go through the menus. This is going to be negative 32, which will put this at the leftmost section of our player object. Let's do a test and see if the positioning of our object is correct. It does seem correct. So it should be able to collide with this object now. So we don't want to see this object, obviously. You don't want some kind of red square showing up on your dude. That would just be bizarre. So where it says visible at start on the display options, uncheck. Okay, now we need to check for collisions. Okay, so what we're going to do now is whenever we overlap this object here, which is going to follow along, whenever we touch the door, and we do in fact have a key, we are going to play this walking animation, which is the door opening. Then I'm going to slowly make the door transparent and destroy it when it is transparent. So to do that, we are going to need to give this door a value we are going to call trans. We need to go in here and we need to modify this. So where it says test for obstacle overlap and player is overlapping the door, we want to insert another condition and we need to find out if the door animation is stopped. So if playing is happening, then we are going to allow the player to move through or past this door. I'm also going to go over to the walking animation, which is the open animation, and we're going to loop this so it keeps playing forever, because that's the final animation we want to show. Okay, so let's find out if this detector object is overlapping another object, and that second object is the door. When that happens, we are going to change the animation of the door. Go to change, animation sequence, to walking, and we're going to play a sound effect. Okay, I'm going to grab this door open sound from a different game I'm working on. Doesn't really fit the mood, but yeah, so what? We're doing it anyway. I anticipate a problem, but I could be wrong. Let's get the key and use it. Okay, so we forgot to subtract the key, and we have that sound playing nonstop. So we want to actually insert another condition here. We want to find out if this door animation is stopped. So that means when it opens, it will not continue to play. So then we need to subtract a global value. So change a global value, subtract 1 from the value of keys. The last thing we want to do is find out if the animation of this door is walking, which is the open animation, and if that is the case, we are going to increase the transparency value and then eventually delete it when that value is fully transparent around 180. So if this is playing, we are going to change the alterable value. We're going to add 1 to trans, and while it's playing, we are also going to set the transparency of this object to the value of trans. Okay, so that is under Effect, Compatibility, Set Semi-Transparency, and grab the value of trans. Now, if the value of trans of this object is ever over 180, so greater than 180, we are going to simply destroy this object, thereby freeing up memory. Okay, for this to work, I forgot to mention, the stopped animation actually needs to be looped. If it's not looped, it will not really consider it to be playing, so you will just go right through the door. Also, we seem to have somehow forgotten to check as well on line 19 if we actually had keys. So whenever the door detector is overlapping the door and animation stopped is playing, meaning the door is closed, we also want to make sure we actually have some keys, otherwise the door can't open. So go to compare a global string, compare a global value. I clicked the wrong thing. Compare to a global value, find out if keys is greater than 0, meaning we in fact have a key. If that happens, then we're subtracting a key and opening the door, playing the sample. Let's test it out. Okay, I can't get through the door. Gonna grab that key with that nice chomp sound, and door is open, and it disappears. And at this point, you could grab this star, and we would win the game. So that is pretty much all there is to doors. It's really pretty easy. You could make it a little more complex by having different doors with different keys, but it would follow the same general pattern. You would just need to have different keys, which would be stored in different global values. So like blue key, red key value, green key, and then you would check each door type with that particular value of key. It's pretty easy. So thank you guys for watching. This concludes this tutorial on how to make keys and doors in Clickteam Fusion 2.5. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I will try to help you, though I am pretty busy nowadays. Also, in the description is my Discord channel. It's pretty popular. It's a great place for you guys to hang out and get help when I'm not available. So I recommend you go in there. And that pretty much covers the whole shebang. So as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.